Hi, seniors. Today we're going to continue our study of poetry and we're going to be looking at imagery and form. I have two different poems by Robert Hayden here for you. He's a Harlem Renaissance poet. The first poem is called Those Winter Sundays. It's pretty short, but there is a lot of beautiful, powerful imagery in here. And so we're using this poem to really focus in on imagery. I have these questions for you to answer. I want you to list the images that you found in this poem. I want you to explain the meaning of the poem and include text evidence. And then I want you to think back to that Maya Angelou recording that we watched earlier in the week called Mask. And I want you to talk about how this poem connects to the ideas that were presented in Maya Angelou's poem Mask. After that, I want you to read the second poem. The second poem is a little bit longer. It is another Robert Hayden poem. It's called Runagate, Runagate. Runagate is a term used to describe a runaway slave. So keep that definition in mind as you're reading. There's two parts, so you'll see part one here, and then you will also see part two here. And in this poem, we're going to use it to really think about form and structure and how that can connect to meaning. A couple of things I want you to know. First of all, the words that are in bold here. Okay, you'll see bolded words throughout the poem. Okay, all of those bold words were bolded by us, not by Robert Hayden. The reason we do this is because we actually read this one out loud in class, and the words, I'll read it, but then the words that are bolded, we all read together kind of as a chorus, which I know sounds a little bit cheesy, but it's actually a really powerful way to read this poem, hearing all of the voices come together. It definitely lends a certain gravity to the meaning of the poem, so I do want you to keep that in mind as you're reading this to yourself, whether you read it out loud or whether you're reading it silently in your head. Think about the words that we, your teachers, have chosen to bold, and keep in mind that we kind of would want to hear a chorus of voices as we read those. Now, that's the only change we made. Everything else in this poem, Robert Hayden actually did. So when you see this kind of staircase structure here with Runagate, 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 that's actually a choice that Robert Hayden made as far as the form of his poem goes. And so I want you to think about, after you read through the poem, why might he have chosen this structure, this feature? How does it contribute to the meaning of the poem, to the effect, to the tone? I'll scroll down a little bit further and give you another example. So like these words and names here that he has included, he structured them this way. So be thinking about why he might have done that and how that impacts the meaning of the poem as a whole. As you read, I want you to highlight and annotate at least 10 times. You are looking for features that are something interesting with the form or the structure. You could also look at syntactical choices that he made, because I do think there's some really interesting syntax in this poem. And then you can also look at anything to do with the organization. And so in organization, of course, you've got part one and part two. I want you to really think about the point of view that you see in this poem. Think about any shifts that occur within the poem. And then you can note that using the highlight and annotating feature. And so to do that, you would highlight and you'd use the comment feature over here to annotate. When I pull up your assignment, I will actually be able to see your annotations. Now, the directions say to go ahead and highlight and annotate for form, syntax, and organization. I do put a note in here. I really do not like prescribing a specific number of annotations that you need to have. I'd like you to make that choice, but I know that for some people that's just way too vague, and so some people need a goal to hit. You can aim for at least 10. Of course, you can have more. You can have a couple less. I'm not going to go through and count, but I want you to do what makes sense for you. But I would expect at least 10. And then after you do the highlighting and annotating, I want you to think about the effect of 3 specific features that you identified. So you looked at 10, but then I want you to choose 3 that you think are really unique or really important or really powerful or just that you really like, and I want you to list them here. You can either describe the feature or you can actually provide the text evidence, whichever way makes more sense for the particular, structural, syntactical, or organizational feature that you chose. And then over here in your own words, I want you to explain the effect of that feature. I don't need a full paragraph, guys, but I'd like more than just some bullet points. I'd like complete sentences, really explain your thoughts on this, but no, please don't write an entire paragraph. And that is the end of the assignment. This one is a little bit shorter than the last couple that you have done. Next week, we're going to dive off into some poetry that focuses on women. I'm really excited about next week. Please reach out and let me know if you have any questions. Bye.